I've noticed that attacking has become one of the hardest things for new players to learn. Because of this, today I'll be teaching you how to play your attack rounds to win more games. Now let's cut out the nonsense and get straight into it. First things first, what is your goal as an attacker? This may seem obvious, get in the bomb site and kill all the defenders. However, this is what separates an average player from a good player. The real objective of attacking is to clear all utility that is stopping your team from getting a plant down and then going for a plant. This is very similar to what I said in my video on how to roam. A lot of newer players think that kills are the only objective or thing that matters. However, your KD or position on the scoreboard doesn't paint the full picture. To truly understand how to attack, you must understand how to properly roam clear, how to properly drone, good team compositions, and good communication. All of these points are vital to an effective attack, and today I'll be tackling each point step by step. First up, how to properly drone. This is one of the most underutilized aspects of the attacker's kit. A lot of newer players either don't drone at all and get killed by an attacker ratting, or they drone incorrectly and get themselves or teammates killed. First off, one of the biggest mistakes I see when it comes to droning is laziness. When you drone a room, don't ignore checking behind that one corner or behind that one object. You may think no one is there, but the times you're wrong will cost your team. Never ignore a part of a room when you're droning it. Always check every crevice. Secondly, not capitalizing on the droning. I see a lot of new players droning an entire side of the map before even entering the building. Typically, you only want to drone 1 or 2 rooms ahead of yourself, because if you drone any more than that, it gives defenders time to rotate into what you've already droned. Or if you find a defender, it gives him plenty of time to change his positioning or fall back before you can get to him. This especially applies if you are a solo, which you should try to avoid droning by yourself. In general, you want to try to drone in pairs, because while you are droning, your teammate can follow your drone and capitalize on any intel you gather. So if it's possible, try to stick with a teammate and work together. Another major flaw in a lot of players droning is throwing away your drone in the prep phase. During the prep phase, you typically want 1 or 2 people to bring their drones inside. Everyone else's should stay outside in their spawn. Driving too many drones into the bomb site just allows the defenders to negate your ability to gather intel. Drones are a precious resource. Treat them like one. It's okay to hide your drone somewhere to act as a stationary cam, but don't bring more than one inside to find the bomb. If you follow these tips, you'll see a huge improvement in your ability to drone. However, good drone work doesn't mean anything if you aren't good at communicating the intel to teammates, because another important aspect of good drone work is calling out the position of both utility and enemy players. A lot of players forget the utility side of things. They strictly focus on calling out enemies. However, utility is arguably just as important. For example, let's say you drone out an ADS defending a deployable shield. You should call this out so your Zofia and Ashe can go and clear it. Vault cams are another great example of this. Calling out vault cams can allow your teammates to be aware of where they are, so that when they go to that area, they can destroy them. Relaying info like this is crucial. It allows people to know where they are needed and what they are needed for. You should also be communicating everything you are doing. If you successfully breach a wall or hatch, call that out. If you push into a new room, call that out. If you're about to push a defender, you should call that out. All of this allows your team to understand the bigger picture of what's going on around the map, and it also allows you to set up refrags. Let's say you're going to push someone in Sunrise Bar. If you call that out to your teammate, they can set up for a refrag on you if you die. A lot of newer players forget this important aspect of communication. You may think it in your head, but you gotta communicate it out loud. Any information is vital for your teammates. Another thing that is directly related to communication is toxicity. Don't be that one teammate that complains and blames everyone else but themselves for a loss. Even if your teammates get you killed, try not to lose your cool. If you berate your teammates in game chat, it will just make them play worse. Also, blaming your teammates stops you from learning. If you think everything is someone else's fault, then you'll never improve. If you lose a game horribly or you just perform badly, I would recommend rewatching the match and trying to be critical of yourself. If you pick apart the mistakes you made, you likely will avoid making them again. But whatever you do, don't blame a teammate. It won't make anything better. Another important aspect of your attack is your team composition. You can easily lose a round in the operator selection phase. If you want to take your skill up a notch, you need to stop picking random operators that you want to play. Trust me, there is nothing wrong with wanting to have fun, but you need to be picking the operators that your team needs. If your team is missing a hard breacher, then pick Thermite. If your team is wanting to play vertically, you should pick operators like Sledge or Buck. Stop picking selfish operators like Blitz and Amaro and start choosing your operators based on your plan of attack. Attacker repick gives you the ability to adapt your lineup to the enemies. In the prep phase, let's say you drone out a Maestro and 2 deployable shields. You'll likely want to bring more soft breachers. If you drone out a Jaeger and Wamai, you might want to bring more burn. These kind of adaptations need to be made to better optimize your loadout against the defenders. Another important aspect to team composition is understanding what roles there are and how to play them. On attack, there are 3 roles: supports, flexes, and fraggers. These roles are defined by the operators within them. For example, Thermite is a support operator, while Ash is a fragging operator. Now, what are these roles? Basically, your role on the team will dictate what operators you play in any given round. For example, if you're a support player, you'll likely be playing Thermite for majority of the time. Now, how do you play these roles? I'll start off with support. A support is typically your hard breachers like Thermite and Habana, or someone like Thatcher. These players will always be the ones with the fuser. And if you are playing support, you want to play passively until you can get your job done. Now, this doesn't mean just sit around and do nothing. A great way to spend your time as a support is droning for your team. For example, if you're playing Thermite on border and you are attacking Armory, while your teammates are clearing security, you should be the one droning. As a support, you are extremely vital. If you die early on to a spawn peek or an aggressive play, then it can cost your team greatly. Also, while playing support, don't be hard on yourself for not getting very many kills. The job of a support player is simply just to get their task done, whether that be breaching a wall, clearing some utility, whatever it is, that's strictly their entire job. Kills are just secondary. Now, if you're playing a fragger, this is the complete opposite. Fraggers typically are the ones to take map control first and the ones that typically roam clear. As mentioned earlier, they'll normally get droned in by supports. Now, this doesn't mean you just get to run around aimlessly. You still have an important job as a fragger. Dying early on will cost your team, and this is for pretty much every role. Albeit less than a support dying early, but it's still a disadvantage for your team nonetheless. Some examples of fraggers are Ash, Zofia, Iana, and Jackal. Now, the flex role is by far the most complicated to explain. The flex role is basically anything that doesn't fall in the category of support or fragger. If you're playing the flex role, you typically just go whatever the team needs. This could be anything from a Capitao to a Dokkaebi to a Lion. Flexes can really do it all. They can take map control or they can drone for their team. It completely depends on circumstances. Now, keep in mind, these aren't predetermined rules for how you should play the game with these roles. I'm just saying you typically want to play more passively with support operators because they matter more, whereas fraggers, if they die, they'll have less of an impact on the game. So you want to choose what operators do what very wisely. Finally is the topic of roam clearing. Roam clearing is a super important piece, and a lot of the fundamentals of roam clearing comes down to your ability to communicate and drone effectively like stated. However, you need to know when and where roam clearing is needed. A great example of when not to roam clear is when you plan to open Armory wall on a border. If you set up a player in security, you don't have to roam clear any other part of the second floor. You don't need to waste time droning something that isn't important to your attack. Attackers are against the clock, so time is of the essence. Use your drone work and good communication to slowly fight your way through the defense, but try to avoid wasting any time. Also, don't forget to choose the right team composition. You want to make sure you are prepared for whatever the defense throws at you. Anyways, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you'd consider subbing. Currently, only 1% of you are subbed, and your sub could make a massive difference. And if I haven't earned your sub yet, maybe this video will change your mind. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.